Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Orogen Royalties Prospect Generator Day. I'm Paddy Nicol, President and CEO, and we're really pleased to host our second annual event. We feel it's a great way to communicate our exploration projects to our partners, our interested technical folks, shareholders, and investors alike on our projects that have been generated internally. Today's theme is entitled Project Generation in Motion, with a focus on a series of new exploration targets, which are all owned 100% by Orogen. As with all of our exploration projects, these new assets we are showcasing today are available for option or sale. And the reviews that we'll be giving today will be concise. So if there's more interest, our technical team will be available after the show and by email if you want to learn more about the projects. This is a technical discussion, and as with any early stage exploration project, we will be making some forward-looking statements. And additionally, this event is being recorded, and at the end of that presentation, we'll be having a Q&A session. So we invite you to use the Q&A feature at the bottom on the Zoom toolbar, and you can type in any questions throughout the presentation. Please note that there's also a chat tool, which is actually going to be disabled during this presentation. A copy of the PDF of this presentation will be available under the tab Project Generation. Our presenters today include Mark Kulba, our Chief Geoscientist in the United States, Mark Backness, our Chief Geoscientist in Canada, and Lawrence Pryor, our VP of Exploration. Mark Kulba, or Mark C as we like to call him, has played a major role in the discovery of the Silicon Merlin deposits in Nevada and has an extensive background in research and remote sensing. Mark B, as we like to call him, has played a major role in the discovery of the Wolverine VMS deposit in the Yukon and has a strong focus in on-field exploration and analysis. Lawrence, who is our exploration geologist and our VP of Exploration, who has considerable experience in a variety of mineral systems and jurisdictions. He joined Orogen's predecessor, Evrim Resources, after completing his degree in economic geology. The assets that we're covering today are a small part of Orogen's diverse and prospective global portfolio of available and partnered projects, and also royalties that we have generated organically or acquired. You will see today that Pardon me, sorry, Lawrence. You'll see today that we'll be showcasing three projects. The TCS project, which is a VMS project in BC, along with Cibola, which is a porphyry copper gold target, and then Table Mountain, a gold project, a silicon analog located in Nevada. So before we get to the projects, just quick overview on what makes a project an Orogen project. And so how we also want to explain how our team consistently delivers projects from one year to the next. And it really starts with a very strong technical team. And the three gentlemen that you'll be listening to throughout the presentation are a big part of that process. And so what we like to do is give our team time to research, to be creative, to read papers, stay up on cutting edge geoscience as well. And the important part is that we give them access to Orogen's database. And that database is a proprietary database. It contains over 100,000 geochemical points. And this is sort of a Nevada focus on our database. Additionally, there's 100,000 integrated public data sets that have all been verified and controlled by our team. We can have 5,000 PDF project files, 2 statewide magnetic data sets, and reports from hundreds of past exploration campaigns. And this is consistent not only in Nevada, but throughout southwestern United States, through Mexico, and also into British Columbia and up into Yukon and Northwest Territories. And so the team with all this data is allowed to explore without the need for worrying about news releases, for fundraising. It gives them sort of a wide focus on being able to explore creatively. And while profitability is always at the front of our minds when we're trying to create a project and trying to sell a project, we're giving our team the maximum flexibility and time to develop something quite special. And so ideas that are too large for Orogen to go it alone, we have a great network of major producers, of royalty companies. And so there's 4 that you see on screen there: Altius, BHP Explorer, Triple Flag, and South 32. who we partner with, and looking at even earlier stage sort of embryonic level ideas that we develop over time into sort of projects. And so whether our team is drilling with partners under barren steam caps, we're looking for hematite breccia-dominated IOCGs in continental USA, or for even Carlin Gold projects in Northwest Territories, we are always pushing sort of the edge of exploration and the frontiers, and we are always trying to develop alliances and that work well with our exploration team and also with our administrative teams that are based in Vancouver, Reno, and Hermosillo, Mexico. So we combine that with a business model of royalty generation and opportunities for our partners to get a 100% interest, with Orogen getting a retained royalty out of the deal. You have a value creation mechanism that benefits all stakeholders involved. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lawrence, who will take it the rest of the way with the projects. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Thanks, Paddy, for the great introduction. The first opportunity is one I didn't think still existed in Nevada. A multi-kilometer high-level exposure of an epithermal system with multi-gram gold and silver at surface. This cell displays no evidence of past drilling, no legacy claim posts, and only one single prospect pit on the whole property. Even better, it's on BLM ground with a clear and simple pathway to drilling. We're going to start this webinar by looking at Table Mountain, which Orogen developed in partnership with Altius Minerals Corp. Table Mountain is located in eastern Nevada, a mature mineral exploration district with an extensive history of significant precious metal epithermal discoveries. Exploration in the last decade has largely focused on the Walker Lane trend, which Orogen believe has left underexplored opportunities in non-Walker Lane hosted Oligomycene caldera complexes of Nevada. Orogen are working on the hypothesis that nested caldera complexes play a first-order role on the generation of world-class epithermal systems with the scale of Merlin and Round Mountain. Our technical team identified a region in eastern Nevada and western Utah that appears largely underexplored and was not covered by the publicly available high-resolution hyperspectral data that our team has used to generate multiple targets in the Walker Lane. In partnership with Altius Minerals and Triple Flag, Orogen have now collected over 5,000 square kilometers of hyperspectral data in this region and identified multiple large alteration cells, including Table Mountain. The 4 by 2 kilometer Table Mountain alteration cell consists of kaolinite alteration with a significant structural and stratigraphic control. This argillic alteration is indicative of the high levels of an epithermal system, locally transitioning into illite smectite and poorly crystallized illite in some areas. The Table Mountain cell was notable due to the complete absence of prior work, including drilling, prospect pits, and legacy claim posts. Recon sampling returned significant gold, including up to 2.62 grams per ton from a series of veins on the property. The northern high-level parts of the alteration cell display anomalous pathfinder element concentrations, including arsenic and antimony. The mineralization on the property is hosted by widespread veining, displaying multiple orientations and textures, including green and white fine-banded quartz that commonly has anomalous precious metals, and a generally barren, coarse-grained quartz with abundant platy silicified calcite. Locally, vein widths exceed 2.5 meters. The alteration and mineralogy of these veins is indicative of the upper levels of prospective ore horizons in epithermal systems. Clear structural drill targets have been revealed by the work completed to date, including the structures bounding the east-northeast trending graben that crosses the property, which represents an untested structural target rimmed by precious metals and overlain by pathfinder anomalism. An additional structural target is defined by a fault in the southeastern portion of the project, which displays steam-heated alteration in the mapped hanging wall of the structure. Both targets are on BLM ground, 100% owned by Orogen, and could be rapidly permitted for drill testing.
Moving north, the next project we're going to review is the Cibola, a copper gold calc-alkaline porphyry opportunity in west central BC. The property is centered on sparse outcrops of intrusion-hosted mineralization within an area of extensively pyritized and altered host rocks, anomalous in copper and gold. Recent work completed by Orogen has defined a drill-ready opportunity to test an unroofed copper gold system in the heart of an emerging mining district. The road accessible property is located in the Skeena Arch of British Columbia, comprised of Jurassic and older rocks, host to significant porphyry deposits associated with the late Cretaceous Bulkley and Eocene Babine intrusive suites. Cibola is surrounded by Imperial's past producing Huckleberry Mine, Surge Copper's Berg project, which contains over 5 billion pounds copper, and 744,000 ounces gold, and Vizsla Copper's Poplar project and their new Thera discovery that returned 345 meters of 0.31% copper right from surface. Cibola has been overlooked in this region as it lies in an area of low relief, effectively concealing the underlying geology. There are two main showings on the property. The granodiorite-hosted main zone and the volcanic sediment-hosted gold zone. Shallow historical drilling in the 1970s consisted of 29 holes that average only 60 meters depth. Drilling returned anomalous copper values up to 0.1% copper over the entire length of the hole. However, none of these samples were assayed for gold. The drilling results define a region of concentrically zoned alteration dominated by pyrite-rich phyllic alteration over a multi-square kilometer area. The preliminary data suggests the presence of a flat-lying roof zone or lithocap above a copper-gold porphyry. Historical IP define a 2 by 1.5 kilometer greater than 40 millivolt chargeability anomaly, coincident with phyllic alteration and anomalous copper and gold. Modern IP confirmed the scale and magnitude of this anomaly, which is comparable to other porphyry systems in the region. In 2025, Orogen carried out an airborne VTEM and magnetic survey that identified several conductive and magnetic anomalies centered around the main zone and coincident with the high chargeability anomalous surface geochem and historical drilling. The combined resistivity depth imagery and magnetic conversion outlines a resistive and magnetic body cutting across a large conductive volume. One of the resistive magnetic bodies correlates with the granodiorite outcrop at the main zone, suggesting an intrusion that expands with depth. Based on these observations, the Orogen team have developed a geological model of one or more intrusive stocks mantled and overlain by flat-lying phyllic argillic alteration zones. The flat-lying alteration zone is interpreted as the high-level expression of a buried porphyry system not penetrated by the shallow historical drilling. In conclusion, the main target at Cibola property represents an essentially untested large copper-gold porphyry system in a proven district centered on one or more undrilled intrusive stocks beneath a blanket of high-level alteration. Outside of this main zone, several other geophysical targets exist on the property that could be advanced to drilling with surface mapping and additional field work.
Thanks, Magnus. Now moving to the final project we will cover in today's webinar, TCS, a copper zinc bearing volcanic hosted massive sulfide target in northern British Columbia. The TCS project is located just 13 kilometers east of Dease Lake and immediately adjacent to the access road for the proposed Cucho copper and zinc mine, a high-grade development project with a completed feasibility study outlining a 17.3 million ton mineral reserve at 1.58% copper, 0.39 grams per ton gold, 2.3% zinc, and 28 grams per ton silver. TCS and Cucho share a number of geological similarities, with both projects located within broad, regional, east-west inflections in the thrust-bound Permian to Lower Jurassic King Salmon lock fauna, potentially representing primary extensional zones in the original arc configuration. TCS is also located within the same Cucho assemblage host rocks as the proposed development project, but is considerably closer to existing infrastructure. The 1845-hectare TCS property is centered on a sequence of bimodal volcanic rocks and associated volcaniclastic sediments within a small window of outcrop exposures through an otherwise glacially till-covered region. Outcrop within that window consists of rhyolitic and basaltic volcanics, forming the core of a self-verging anticline. Rock samples from float found within the central TCS window returned up to 3.2% copper and 3.5% zinc from the bimodal volcanics, with anomalous copper and zinc in soils from the region of Fin Till displaying concentrations and extents analogous to the discovery zone at Cucho. To advance the target, Orogen completed a 234 line-kilometer airborne magnetic and VTEM survey, with the aim of identifying conductors that might represent massive sulfide lenses, as well as clarifying the geology beneath the glacial till. Most of the conductors identified correspond to conductive sedimentary units. However, some of the discrete anomalies identified by Condor Consulting may reflect concealed massive sulfide bodies. In particular, targets 1, 2, and 5 occur in association with anomalous geochemistry. At Cucho, ore bodies are in close association with felsic volcanic rocks, with a hanging wall of sediment and gabbro, in turn overlain by a distinctive conglomerate and limestones. The geological section at TCS strongly resembles the Cucho section and corresponds with both strong conductors and anomalous geochemistry. The inverted conductivity depth section reinforces the interpretation of the South Virgin recumbent folding and thrusting of the bimodal volcanic sequence. Minimal refinement of geochemical coverage, including sampling of basal tills based on results of a recently completed quaternary mapping exercise, is proposed in preparation for drill testing.
Okay, well, great. Mark, Lawrence, and the rest of the technical team, thanks very much for putting this presentation together today. As mentioned, this PDF is available on our website under the Project Generation tab. We also have 2 additional epithermal targets, Pearl String and Hot Tip in Nevada, that are also available for partnership. They were covered in last year's PG Day, and they can be found on our website as well. And look, there's more to come. We have 5 other project level assets that are in development, including multiple caldera-related steam caps in Nevada and Utah, porphyry targets in Nevada and New Mexico, and a Hermosa analog polymetallic CRD system in Arizona. And so we're working hard to get these projects ready for AEMA, Roundup, and PDAC, so stay tuned on those. So come meet our technical team if you want to reach out, and please feel free to email myself or Lawrence Pryor anytime to arrange a call. And so with that, let's have some time for questions, and I'll turn it over to Marco to take it the rest of the way.
Thanks, Paddy. For those of you who joined late, we would like to invite you to use the Q&A feature in the Zoom toolbar near the bottom of your screen to type in your comments or questions. Quick reminder that a copy of the PDF and the webinar recording will be available on our website under the Project Generation tab. Okay, the first question comes from Paul Roth. Paul asks, are the rapidly rising precious metal and copper prices good or bad for you in terms of getting deals done or projects finalized? Paddy, maybe you want to start with that one.
Sure. I think for us, the commodity prices are somewhat independent of how we view acquiring projects, because of the way that we use data to generate early stage assets. We are typically looking to stake projects in our terms of how we acquire properties. So we don't really come up against competitors or other groups that are, or vendors, if you will, that are selling projects to Orogen. These are all internally generated. So the costs today are the same costs as they were, the past several years. What is to our benefit, however, is the fact that in this environment, there's a lot more demand. There's a lot of companies raising money. They have a lot more capital to invest in projects. So it's become a great time for us to be able to move projects out the door. And you're seeing sort of proof of that. In the past couple of months, we've sold 3 projects and we've got more on the horizon. So I think this is a fantastic time to be in the market, to be moving and selling some of our exploration targets.
Great. Quick one here for you, Lawrence. What does BLM land mean?
So it's the Bureau of Land Management. They are a federal organization. It's generally seen as an advantage in Nevada compared to some of the other land types because of the simple pathway to permitting. You can do up to 5 acres of disturbance on a permit that you can generally turn around in a pretty short time frame compared to exploring in the forest where your permitting timelines might be longer, or on private ground where you might have to reach agreements with multiple owners.
Great. The next question comes from Adrian Day. How would you characterize current interest in early stage exploration, both from senior miners and others?
Look, I think it's tremendous right now. As to my earlier answer, the amount of capital that's been raised by juniors has been a really welcome sign. And for us, it opens the book up and the opportunities for us to sell our projects, I think, at decent prices and to get stronger terms on our royalty agreement. So it's been very good in that regard, and I expect that to continue for the at least for the short and medium term. So we're very happy for that. As for the majors, I think there is a real push towards early stage exploration. I think Orogen has a bit of a brand now to be able to deliver high quality exploration targets, as noted by the discoveries that have been made off our exploration initiatives over the past number of years, both at Ermitaño and then more recently with Silicon. So we do have a fantastic relationship with them. There has been a stronger push by the majors to get into early stage exploration projects. And I think what sort of sets us apart from a lot of it is the fact that we are always bringing new ideas. These aren't projects that have been sitting around for 15, 20 years or so. These are brand new projects, brand new ideas, and multi-commodities. And so there's a wide range of things that we can do for partners. And so I think they've learned to appreciate that, and which is why we have such a great network with our partners, both senior and junior partners.
Great. Next question related to Table Mountain. How do you explain the lack of previous exploration activity in a mature jurisdiction like Nevada?
It's interesting. It's something we've been asking ourselves, why does this opportunity exist? Nevada's viewed as such an incredibly mature jurisdiction. But I think a lot of the exploration, particularly in the last couple of decades, has focused on a couple of core trends. This is a remote part of Nevada, a little bit off the beaten path of where you might have gone traditionally. And also in the publicly available data sets, the alteration cell really doesn't stand out. It's 5 or 6 scattered pixels in the ASTA data set. So it wasn't until we collected the high resolution hyperspectral, allowing us to see through the tight topography and the fairly extensive vegetation and trees for Nevada, that the scale of this cell became, clear to us. But we walked in there with a lot of skepticism. But, I think it's proven that there hasn't been exploration here. So we now see it as an opportunity. Mark, do you want to add to that?
No, that's good. It is remote. It's not easy to get there, and it is a part of Nevada where a number of recent discoveries have been made in the last 10 years. So it's a kind of a new frontier.
We have a follow-up question on Table Mountain, so we'll cover that one now. Question is, does it have the same possible potential as Silicon?
The scale of the alteration cell, and again, I'll get Mark to comment here, is larger than what was seen at the Silicon discovery. The alteration cell itself covers the footprint of Silicon and a substantial part of Merlin. Correct, Mark?
That's a good way to put it. It's a very large fingerprint on the ground surface of like 4 by 2 kilometers, with a number of high-level textured veins over the greater part of that area. So the footprint of that is permissive for a very large system.
I think what's exciting about this area as well is, I mentioned we've flown 5,000 square kilometers of hyperspectral data. This is the first cell that we've started to talk about, but we've identified nearly a dozen, and we've staked the majority of those. So we are starting to put forward a portfolio of these assets in this area, and I think that's incredibly exciting for us. Table Mountain's just the first one we visited and developed into a marketable target.
Very good. Question on TCS. I want to understand the history of the TCS project. How was it identified initially?
That's probably a question for you, Mark Backness.
I mean, it has a fairly lengthy history. I mean, people looked at it in the 70s. I'm not going to get all the companies in here, but I think it was Noranda did some soil surveys and a bit of sort of EM attempts, but it's never really had much exploration, geochemistry, some old school geophysics, and then it sort of sat without any activity for most of that time. Certainly no drilling, nothing really other than geochemistry and some rudimentary geophysics. So it's not easy. It doesn't stick out of the ground. I mean, it's a small window of exposure, and even with on the property, I think there's something like 1 or 2% exposure. So it's fortunate that we have that, and that's what we're centered on, and why we moved to do geophysics. So it's a greenfields prospect, I guess you'd best call it. Certainly not a Nevada type situation. Yeah.
Okay, we're running short on time, so I'm going to combine a couple questions here. One is, are you planning to look beyond gold, copper, silver into things like uranium, lithium, and other metals? And then more on the geographic side, do you still have projects available in Mexico? Do you have any favorite jurisdictions for future projects, or is it jurisdiction agnostic?
Wow. That covers a few things. Look, I think commodity-wise, we're very experienced in sort of a standard suite of base metals, precious metals, and I see us sort of sticking to our knitting in many aspects. For us to take on perhaps lithium and others might be a harder stretch, but certainly nickel, lead, zinc, copper, and the suite of precious metals is something that we're keenly interested in. We're very well rooted given our database in Western North America, if you will. So Western, Northern Mexico, all the way up to the Northwest Territories. That's a lot of ground to cover still. Projects we have availability. We have sold a lot of projects, and so I guess the bullpen, if you will, is a little short these days, and so that's why we're trying to add new projects in. Hence our PG day here today, and always trying to. It's like a conveyor belt. You sell projects at the one end, and you're trying to feed the conveyor belt at the other end, and try to maintain some level of consistency in this market. As I mentioned earlier, it's a great time to be moving projects, and we have. So we've got to supplement it by bringing more projects at the other end. So that being said, projects, we have a couple in the United States still available, and with these new ones that we presented today. As far as Mexico goes, we have projects. We've staked several. They're in the various levels of the court system in Mexico. We are trying to get title to them. We love Mexico. It's a great place to be. But until we can verify title on our projects that are down there, it becomes a very difficult place to try to stake ground and then sell ground to groups who are looking to advance any sort of exploration ideas down there. So at this stage, we don't have anything presently available until those projects become titled by the Ministry of Mines in Mexico.
Excellent. Well, I think that's a great place to finish off. So Patty, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, no, I think, look, great. Thanks for everybody for coming. This is something we plan to do on at least an annual basis. And thanks again for listening in, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.